So this is my review of 2011 and looking forward to 2012. So I'm going to focus on the successful stuff I did, not the failures. Like, failures are not actually in when you're researching stuff. If you learn from your failures, you're doing as well as a success sometimes. Anyway, the biggest success is the Pulsar Pump Nano. Nobody has made one of these yet, but Eileen from Window Farm suggested it, or from our Window Farm suggested it, and I tried it out, and I got collaboration from a guy in Instructables.com called Its and Bits One, who tried out my little test, and in validating my results he beat it. So he actually, in the thing, I pumped to 13 feet and he got to 16, so well done to him. So congratulations to all three of us. And also Eileen was mentioned in Britta O'Reilly's TED Talk, which got, I don't know, maybe about Window Farms. It got about 250,000 views in the latter third of last year. I also had successful collaborations with, in our Window Farm. So a bunch of things worked out pretty good there. The Pulsar Pump, world's simplest pump video, became the most viewed airlift pump related video on YouTube. So this is, I'm not sure why people like this video, but it's by far the most viewed airlift pump video on YouTube. Several more people made models. I've kind of lost count of that at this stage, but there are quite a few. No official research still, which is very, very disappointing. Anyway, on a very sad note, just a couple of weeks ago, Denise Dunn, who really led and inspired the Linen Project in Victoria, passed away. She was on a visit to England. And yeah, it's very, very sad. She really did enormous things for the project. She kept it going more or less on her own. So, on to some pictures. So this is the the little experiment that I set up, and I have real video of it going, but with one of the weakest, puniest little pumps in the world, just an aquarium bubble pump, and this little setup with a T-joint here, airlift going up here. I pumped to 13 feet no problem, which is pretty amazing. And the other guy, Its and Bits One, pumped to 16 feet. But really there's only the two of us tried it, and there is serious potential for this to go much higher. No one knows how high it can pump. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more people trying this. And it's a cheap experiment too. If you have an aquarium, you have one of these, just borrow it for half an hour and see how high you can go. So, bees. This is not a wasp, this is a bee, and you can see his huge big long tongue, which is for sucking nectar, I guess. Anyway, I have a project where I try and make little shelters for the bees. And I didn't realise, but in Europe for the last decade, people have been doing more or less exactly the same thing. This is the last little project I did this year, and it was pretty successful. Just putting a tiny little webcam, it has to have a focusing thing here, on an optical microscope, and just looking at protozoa. It was very surprising how good the results were, and I didn't even try and optimize stuff. I was just playing. This is another of the bees that sometimes go into the bee shelters that I made. So it's bee shelter and bee brood chambers. This is another thing for next year. This is called Scorzonera. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Anyway, it's grown lots in Holland and Germany, and it's really delicious food, but no one here in Canada, or most people here, don't know how to grow it, don't know how to cook it, and so I'm going to do a little explanation of that, because it's a root vegetable that can stay in the ground for years, so it's a potential crop for earthquakes and stuff like that. You just leave it until you desperately need it, or you can eat it as much as you want. So this is another project that I'm going to do in 2000. This project stalled because basically I didn't have time to finish it. This is a solar design T-square. The T-square, you can move back and forth over your model, which can be a small little thing or a big thing, and it you design a reflector for solar cookers. And this is one of the designs, depending on, sorry, I'm just going to go back, depending on the angle here, like you can have it for 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever, up to, I think up to 4 hours, but the shape probably wouldn't. So anyway, you set it up with your target where my finger is here, and all these mirrors were set up using the 2 lasers on the T-square to mimic the sun. This is probably the only way of doing it, but anyway, it needs a little bit more collaboration from people, anyone who it's just stuck on wet clay, and I think it could be a major thing, because the results from this were so different than any solar cooker that's out there, that I think it deserves a second, third and fourth look by people who just glance at it and think it's too hard. This wasn't successful on YouTube, but it was extremely successful on Instructables. This is bee habitat. So the bees shelter in holes in the cob here, they shelter in holes in the different plants here, weeds and stems and raspberry canes and grape cuttings. And depending on the bee, like some bees didn't shelter in the holes, they dug out their own holes, and this is dillweed here, they dug out their own. They were happy to do that. So last year it was, I think I put it in August, not that much activity in it, but it's gradually, even this year it's still not full, but there's been bee activity basically year round in this thing up until sometime in October. So it's been a success. So this is another thing. I had cob bee habitat, and I expected the bees to brood in it, but some don't. Some have just used it for shelter at night. And when you think about it, bees have to have shelter. Solitary bees have to have shelter at night. So that's a carder bee. Here's another. I don't know what type of bee. This is a bee as well, believe it or not. But I don't know what type he is or she is. But this is. Do you see the rain up at this side of the photo? So they were sheltering from about 2 days of rain. And you see up here, this is where a smaller bee has filled in a hole completely. And in here, you can just see the shapes, the outline of another bee that's much further in, that's also taken shelter. So really, really useful. Oops. Next. Oh, this is part of the linen project. So Denise and a man whose name just escapes me right now introduced me to that. He gave me some seed, and this is from seed that I saved. I grew the linen or the flax, and you just wet it. You let it go rotten on your lawn or in water for a week or two. And here it is again. Here's all the. So the thing I've done different in this than anyone else is I did successional sowings of it, and I sowed it with other plants to see what would happen. And it might be a very useful plant to sow with peas, because it provides the support for the peas to grow up. So what have I got here? Oh, here's it's really strong fibres, like extraordinarily strong. So what I propose to do this year is try it for, instead of trying to make clothes, which is beyond me, I'm going to try it for fibre in fibre pots. I'll try and make fibre pots, or I will try and use it as the fibre under plants in hanging baskets. And why not? Because the fibre currently is imported from who knows where. And here it is again. Like, this is not completely broken out. You break out more of this, and maybe you don't have to, if depending on your use. Let's see, what have we got here? More of the flax. Oh yeah, here's the thing. I should have showed this to you first, but this was the first thing I did during the year, was the solar compass, and I really thought survivalists would take this on. Anyway, you just put a box that's open to the same angle as your latitude on a flat surface, and twist this and the box around until the bicycle spoke. So a really simple thing. This costs about $10 here, and you can get them cheaper, so that the bicycle spoke lines up with the piece of paper, which is universal. Exactly, and that means that the box is pointing south. So anyway, it's pretty simple, but no one has verified it yet, which is kind of surprising. Okay, so we're at the end of the thing, so hopefully people can maybe comment, and especially try out some of these things that are really cheap to do, like the solar compass. I didn't know they existed before I made one, and I still don't understand the explanation that I've seen online for solar compasses by I've forgotten the name of the American guy 100 years ago, but they do exist. But this is the MacGyver version, and everyone loves MacGyver, so go ahead and do it yourself. Also with this, come on in and do it. You'll be pleasantly surprised at what you can achieve, because big science totally ignores it. Thank you. Have a good 2012.